introduce you. So I did speak to them very briefly before recess as well. We have Jill and Eli. I was going to say Ellie, not Eli, apologies. They have come from Perth. Zoe knows them very well. They are her grandparents. So we just wanted to welcome them. We've got hopefully everything ready to go. And Jill is with us until lunchtime. So for an hour we're here, and then we have to go to another class, and then at 12 o'clock the other teachers are coming back. And we know that they're going to enjoy it. We've spoken briefly about the theme, but other than that I was going to leave that up to you. So thank you so much for coming, Jill, and welcome to Mount Sinai again.
Thanks everyone. What's it over there? Right, everybody comfy. So today you're going to hear a story that took place 85 years ago, just before World War II began. So World War II began, anybody know which year it began? 1930. Absolutely correct. 1939, World War II began. Now, this story takes place, first of all, in Germany. The Nazi government had introduced racist laws which discriminated very heavily against the Jewish people, our religion. And parents became very worried about what was going to happen once the war broke out. So these racist laws took away everybody's rights, their freedoms, their democratic responsibilities towards each other and towards the state. Jews had no rights at all, and times were very tough. So in Germany, these parents decided to see if they could find a way out for their children. What was happening in England at the time, this is in 1938, 1939, a huge rescue operation was started to try and get as many children as possible from Germany and other Nazi-occupied countries to safety in England and Scotland, Ireland and Wales, which was called the United Kingdom. This rescue operation was called the Kindertransport. Kind in German is child, so they called it Kindertransport, to see if they can bring across as many as possible before the war broke out. And this is exactly what happened to Dorrit Sim, who wrote this story about her rescue and her survival on the Kindertransport. You know, she was only 7.5 when she left her parents and was taken all alone across to England. And this was the thing, what happened, no parents were allowed. And everybody had to be under the age of 17. So it was pretty difficult for those parents to allow their children to go, but they were thinking of their safety. So they said, yes, let's send our children to safety across the water. Okay, next. I'm going to say to Eli next. This little book is called an autobiographical picture book. And you might think, oh, picture book, that's for babies. But you're going to be amazed at how deep you have to think in order to answer my questions about this autobiographical picture book. What does autobiography mean? If you know the answer, just stick up your hand, yeah?
It's like a biography.
Wrote the story about her own rescue. Okay, next. Next. Okay, now, this page over here with the little short summary, what do we call that summary, beginning with a B? The blurb. Let's read the blurb. I was 7.5, very young, when my visa was stamped on the 26th of July, just before the war broke out. There were almost 10,000 children like me who came to the United Kingdom before World War II began. Some of us were babies, most of us were Jewish. We were each given a place on a Kindertransport out of Nazi Europe. After the war, some of us were reunited with our families. Sadly, many of us were not. And we either stayed in our new countries where we grew up, or we went to live in different countries all over the world. Here we have her passport picture. You can see how young she is. The travel document that she needed to get out of Germany and escape to England. Okay? To put it into perspective, perspective for you. There we are in Australia, and up here is where the war took place. England, Scotland, Germany, Holland, that's where it all happened. Okay, next. This is what Europe looked like in 1939. Those were the borders for each country. We are now going to start the story. Very simple, there's so much depth and meaning, and I want you to think deeply about what we are reading and what it could mean. Hardly anyone on the boat ate breakfast that morning. It was 1939, it was July, and we were on a boat full of children escaping from danger. What was the danger? What did I say? Yeah.
The Nazis.
Yeah, the war. The war was about to break out. What I want you to look at here, it's obvious that this is little Dora herself. What's on top of her head? Yep. What is it? Can you see? Yes, it's a bow. It's a red bow. And what's under her arm? What's she clutching?
Stuffed dog.
Yes, those toy stuffed dog. That's right. The child, 7.5. That's what she's going to take with her. But I want you to look at that red bow, everybody, and remember it. It's what we call a motif. And a motif is an object in a story which weaves its way through the story and connects all the themes and ideas together, because we're going to see it appearing right through the story. Now, she's touching this toy dog under her arm. What for? Why do children have stuffed toys? And have you still got one that you split? Or don't you want to confess to your friends? Yep.
This is big squishmallow which I have. I usually sleep like this.
And you've got it around you. And what does it give you?
Sometimes I
What
put
kind
my
of
head in
feeling?
it because it's like softer than my pillow.
That's right. And?
It makes you feel like happy and safe, I guess.
Yes, happy, safe. It gives you comfort to have that kind of toy, dog, something precious with you that you're taking with you. Look how she's gazing out. Do you think she's looking backwards or forward? Backwards? At what? She's leaving? Or
Oh yeah.
what do you think?
I think she's looking backwards at her homeland.
At her homeland. Anybody think she's looking forward?
I don't think she's looking forward. I think she's looking backwards at her parents because when you're that young, it's sort of like if you were like younger, you'd be able to cope with it more because you haven't had that many years with your parents. But when you're older, you know them, you can see them, but and it feels
And
harder. To
what
move
you're
away.
thinking and what you're talking about now, we're going to see that element in the story. Okay, let's go on, Back at the Hamburg railway station. Where's Hamburg? Which country? Yep. Germany, huge big city in Germany. That's where they left from. A train had been waiting to take us to Holland, to the boat. What's Holland called now? Anyone know? The N? Come on, you should know from sport. Netherlands, yeah.
No,
Called Netherlands now.
Excuse me.
Mutti and Vati, that's mum and dad in German, told me the boat would take us to a new life. All the parents cried. We cried too. Here you can see the little family hugging and kissing. You can see her red bow glowing, feeling the love of her parents. Who do you think put the red bow in her hair? Yeah?
and her mom,
Probably. And what kind of feeling would her mum have had when she did that?
like sadness,
Sadness.
and also happy.
Well, her love would have given her happiness. So, what I want you to also look at very closely when we're reading the story is the illustrations. The man who painted these, and they were actually on huge boards and then made smaller for the book. His name is Gerald Fitzgerald. He captured so beautifully the feelings and the emotions of the people on the station in this case. Look at how that train is illustrated. What can you say about it? Come on, some other people who haven't answered. Yep, it is. And what about the colours? What do you think? It does, doesn't it? Rusty. What about the sounds can you imagine it making? Would it have been soft, gentle sounds? No.
It was these loud,
Very.
and smoke coming up.
Yes. Yeah, definitely. So it's very menacing. It's quite scary, isn't it? You can feel that it's reflecting the emotions of the children and the other people who are on that station. Okay? One little girl cried loudest of all when she dropped her toy dog. It lay on the tracks. A man rescued the dog. He called catch as he threw it to her. Right after she caught it, the train began to move. The girl stopped crying and clutched her dog, and she waved goodbye to the man. A simple act. What can you say about that simple act of that man? Yeah.
It made the girl very happy.
It did. What kind of act was it? Yep. Kindness. We are going to see right through this little story of 16 pages, amazing acts of kindness by people. That's a very good one. On the previous page, with the family hugging and kissing, an amazing act of kindness by her. You said it? Mum and Dad, by putting her on the train. What have they got around their necks? What are those? Yeah. They're tags. What do you think's on the tags?
Probably like saying like their destination.
Destination. Name, definitely.
It's like a tag that you're on the train.
Yes, and because, yeah, well, not what the price tag. Yes, what else? A ticket. Yes, what else would be on that?
An ID?
Yes, all the identification, yes. Date of her birth, destination, where she's going to, where she's coming from.
Brady.
They do. They had to be identified also because their parents weren't with them. So they had to be identified. You can see again the red ribbon, which is identifying Doris, so we know that's her. Now, this is my deep question that I want you to think about. I know that you've learned about metaphors in your English lesson. Who or what do you think the man is a metaphor for? I'm not sure if anybody will get this, but let's see. What do you think?
Maybe father.
Well, a father figure perhaps, but that's just a strange man doing a kind act. Well, I'll tell you. Yeah, what do you think? Before I tell you. A metaphor for something. Representing something. Do you think the man is representing something bigger? Yes?
Yes, and like kindness or like.
It is the theme of kindness. It's the Kindertransport itself. You think about the metaphor, and the metaphor is something that stands for something else. This incredible kind act is standing for the kindness of people who helped rescue the children. Okay, Eli? At last the train stopped. A big voice said we were in Holland. We sat in a green field and ate cheese sandwiches. We sang songs to the Dutch people who helped us. One song was about a mermaid. They gave us milk and chocolate, and soon we were on our way again. What's the first thing that strikes you about this picture? Yeah. The field. And what colour is it? The green and the yellow. Greens and yellows, what do they represent, those colours? What kind of feelings do you have when you see green and yellow like this?
Like exciting.
Do you think they look excited?
Yeah.
Yeah. Happy, that's the word, yes? Yes, it's very, very green. And how do we know where we are? What are the clues? Yeah?
When someone says green, they're like dusty ones.
Yes. Yes?
It says we sang songs to the Dutch people.
So we know they're in? Who's the Dutch? Anyone know who the Dutch are?
Holland.
Yes? Holland. Yeah, that's right, somebody said. What are our clues that they're in Holland? Do you know?
It says it's Holland.
Anyone know what's up there on the right-hand side?
A windmill.
A windmill, thank you. Yes. And what kind of flowers are these? They're the national flower of Holland. Who knows? No, not a poppy, the other one that you're thinking of, with the T. Yes. Yes, yes. The green fields. Look at the expressions on the children's faces. Do they look, what? Relieved, don't they? Happy. They're off that train. They've got food. Why do you think Doris talks about the food? Why? Milk, chocolate, sandwiches, why? What do you think?
Maybe since a lot of them would be young kids, they would try to make it feel as much as like home as possible.
Possible. Don't forget they come from Germany, where there have been incredible deprivations. Being Jewish, they were deprived of a lot of things. food was scarce. Here they've got this nutritious food. Milk and chocolate were actually luxury items. What do you think?
It's kind of like a type of therapy, like where the green is kind of calm, it's like the color of calm, and yellow is the color of happiness. And
You are right.
Red is the color of passion. So they try to put those colors like in their surroundings. So
Very deep answers there. Thank you. Okay, Eli, next. On the boat, it was strange sleeping without our parents. Only brothers and sisters knew anyone. In the night, some children got lost. They left their cabins to look for the bathrooms and could not remember their way back. They tried to do ordinary things and normal things like putting on their pajamas. This is where I want you to think deeply. Hang on a sec. I want you to look at this line here. What do you think that is really telling us, that last line? Yes, you had your hand up.
I think it says that they're in a new place where they know where they are and they got shut down during the day. maybe,
Okay,
but-
that's the
And
physical.
also,
Yes.
if the kids got lost, how they did, what did they get found?
Look at the last line. What do you think?
like they couldn't remember their way back to their home.
Their homes. So it's not just the cabin. Oh, I'm not sure if I'm in number 1 or number 2. It's the idea that will they ever find their way back to their real homes in Germany or where they've come from. So that's the deeper meaning that I wanted you to think about. Okay, next. Then it was time to leave the boat. We wore name tags around our necks. There was a wooden bridge. Looking through the slats at the sea made me dizzy. I didn't want to move, but everyone behind pushed me. I shut my eyes and held the rail, shuffled forward with my eyes closed. At last, my feet touched the ground. That's when I started to cry. So, we have little Dorothy coming off the boat. I want to ask you now, what point of view is this written in? Who knows what the point of view is? Anyone? Yes?
First person.
It is first person. Can you explain why?
Because it says that's when I start.
Yeah. And why do you think that's significant? Anybody know? Why do you think it's significant that it's changed to first person point of view here? Dorothy herself. What do you think?
Because it's like, because you said Dorothy wrote the book and it's a book about Dorothy. So like, she's saying that like she like did it.
Yes. And I'm asking the question, though, why is it significant? Anyone know? Why would it be important here? What's happened, everyone, is that what happens now to Dorothy is up to her. Everything that happens from now on, it's Dorothy as an individual person, not part of a whole group on a boat, on a train. It's just her. And what about when her feet touch the ground? You know that expression? To be grounded? She is now there. What is she carrying? What's that? What's it called? A suitcase, actually. Suitcase. What do you think is inside that suitcase? Yeah, boys, what do you think? Inside that little girl's case. Yes. Clothes. Yes, toothbrush, toothpaste.
Maybe DVDs or a book about peasant.
Maybe there was, but it wouldn't have been him because that hadn't been written yet. Something else. Absolutely right. The sentimental items like photographs and the real things that they needed. Okay, let's go on. A train stood ready. Someone said it was a British train taking us to London. Many people were there. Some children had friends or family to meet them. Others looked around for help. There were men with cameras and people holding photographs. Those people had promised to take children into their own homes. The children would be part of their families until they could be with their own parents again. So the expectation was that they were going to return to their own parents again. I want you to look at this group of adults. Can you see their actions? How have they been portrayed? Yeah?
They're hugging their kids that they found just in.
Yes. So this action, it's showing that they are welcoming the children, are being kind and wanting them to come and be looked after. Here's little Dorothy waiting to see what's going to happen to her. Do you see where it says there were men with cameras? Why do you think there were men with cameras? What were they doing? Who hasn't answered me for ages? All right, so, yeah.
Maybe they had cameras because this is like the first train with like all the kids, and it was like a big train that everyone has to remember.
Yeah, very big time element here. They had to advertise the kinder transport as much as possible. They needed people to come forward to volunteer to look after all these children that were going to arrive. So it needed to be splashed across the newspapers, the photos that they were taking. Yeah?
It could have sent a message to the Nazis.
It could have. It said, look.
Because they said that there was a lot of Jews on there.
Yeah.
And the Nazis could have seen it, but
They were happy to get rid of the children. That's why they gave permission.
Yeah, but then they'll be like, there's Jews in Britain.
They would have known, definitely. Okay, next. A man and a woman looked at a photograph. The wife touched her husband's arm. Look, she said, the child we picked. The girl with the red ribbon and the big toy dog. That's how they found me. So, here is her identity. The toy dog, the red ribbon. I want to know, why do you think that man is down on his knee like that? Why do adults do that? Yes?
He's trying not to overwhelm the little girl.
Very good. Yes?
What happened to all her brothers and sisters?
She didn't have. She was alone.
Those other people.
She didn't have any. There were other people on the train coming with her. Yes. Yes?
And so he's bending down his knee because the girl's too short.
Well, she's a little girl. And why would adults do that? What are they trying to do? Yes?
So like when they first see each other, they first wanted to get the girl to smile.
Yes, and to make eye contact with her.
Like
Yes.
if she wants to be with them.
Yes, that's right. And what else?
If you're going to look after a child, you can't just say, come on, you're coming with me, I need to look after you.
Yes.
That will like scare her. She might think that they're like Nazis or something.
Well, yes,
Or something like that. But if,
and to be kind.
But like, if he goes down and like explains everything to her,
Yes.
and like things like that, then she'll feel comfortable and she'll
That's
understand
right.
what's going on.
Thank you. Excellent explanation. What are you going to say? Well, this in the end actually was the uncle, and because he could speak German, which we'll see on the next page, and these are the people she's going to stay with. Okay, let's go on. A man with them spoke German. Anyone here speak German? He said,
Do you speak a bit, do you think?
no?
A little bit.
Okay.
No.
All right, everybody. I'm going to say it, but don't laugh, because it might not be right. He said, "Willkommen, schöne Kind," which means welcome, beautiful, lovely child. What do you think of that? Such beautiful words to say to a little girl all by herself getting off a train. And all I could say in English was, "I have a handkerchief in my pocket." That's how I began to teach myself. Every time I learned a new word, I put it in the same sentence. I have a dog in my pocket. I have a house in my pocket. I have a teacher in my pocket. But does she really put it in her pocket? What are we really seeing here? What is she putting the word so that she can remember them? In here? Where? In her brain. Thank you, whoever said that. Of course, these words are going into her memory so that she can take them out when she needs them. Yes? No. So, this is how she's going to teach herself English. And this is how not only words get put into her pocket, which is really the pocket of her brain, but everything else she has to learn. Think about where she's come from. All these new things she's going to have to learn. Yes.
Why is the ghost stop set?
Okay. She's looking at this dog. What kind of dog is it? Who knows? Anyone know? Oh, you are very close. And totally correct. First time. Scottish Terrier. She's looking a bit worried, isn't she? And look at the man's got his hand on her shoulder. What do you think he's saying to her about putting his hand there? Yes, it's okay, don't worry. He's reassuring her. Okay, next. The man and the woman came from Scotland. That's the country just north of England. Everything was different. Think about that. Everything was different. In Germany, I sat on a little seat on my father's bike. In Edinburgh, where they lived, there was a car and I had a real dog. So that's quite interesting. Look at the way this illustrator has drawn this huge, big man on the bike, which we know is the dad. What can you say about the way he's illustrated this? Anyone got any ideas? And as I said to you before, think deeply about this. Yeah? What do you think?
Kind of, it looks like she's like in the wheel, but she's not, it's just like far away.
And so what do you think that means for her memory bank? That she's part of it.
Yeah.
Yeah, the importance of the dad and the image of is so powerful in her mind to show the comparison between the old life and the new life. She's going to get in that car and drive away. That's what you're going to say? The old life and the new life? What were you going to say?
It's like an optical illusion.
It is almost, isn't it? Because her parents didn't have a car. They were in Germany. Jewish people weren't allowed to have cars. He drove around on a bike. And they certainly didn't have pets. And now she's got a real dog. Okay, next. In Germany, I couldn't play with the children in our street because I was Jewish. Okay? So, nothing like being with friends, playing in the street. Now, I played with my new Scottish friends. Soon I was calling the woman and the man Mummy and Daddy. After all, I called my real parents Mutti and Vati. So, everyone, first of all, I want to ask you about the children and what they're doing and how do we know what they're feeling towards each other. Who knows? Someone hasn't answered me before. Any ideas? Look at the picture. You answer me. Do you think they look happy or sad, the children? And how do you know? Of course, they're smiling. Look at the colours. We said before that yellow was a colour of happiness. What are they doing with their hands? Holding. Okay, it's all very obvious, isn't it? I want you to also look at how her red bow is glowing to show her happiness. But best of all, I want you to think about what does it mean. The question is now I played with my new Scottish friends. I want you to think deeply. What is she trying to tell us? Yes.
When you see on the right side of the brick wall, like where the boy is, it's like brighter colours, and then on the other side it just goes darker. So
Very
maybe the
good.
girl is also feeling still very
Excellent.
sad.
See how deeply you thought about the darkness of her previous life. Very well put. Moving towards the lovely bright colours of her life now. Excellent. The way the children are portrayed, the acceptance and the inclusivity, which is a very important word, to be inclusive, to include your friends, to show friendship, to show acceptance. They don't care that she came from Germany, or that she couldn't speak English properly, or that her customs might have been different. They totally accepted her, yes.
I think they might also be Jewish.
They actually are not. They are, these children are Scottish, but they're not Scottish Jewish children. They are children in the street who she's playing with. And that's the point, and I'm glad you brought that up, because it's very important to show everybody's accepted here. See the happiness on their faces. What's happening in the last page of the story, which we're coming to now? We already finished the story. Something very significant happens at the end because it has what we call an open ending. And I want you to think about what question are you going to ask me? Well, I've asked you so many already, and all your answers have been really so insightful. Okay, Eli? I got a letter from Mutti and Vati. We miss you so much. Remember to be good and don't forget to write to us. This morning we picked mushrooms and thought about you. We hope to be with you very soon. I hope so too. I put Mutti and Vati's letter in my pocket. I kept it and read it every day. even after the war began.
Woof, woof.
What do you want to ask me? What are you thinking in your mind? Yeah?
You can see the bright wall, so I think she's now moved into her brighter life, and she's now really accepted that, because you don't see any devil except for up under that window, which is where the shadow is. Before she manifested up, she was under a window. There was no one.
Very, very deeply thought out. You've made a statement. I want to hear a question. Yes. What question do you want to ask me?
Like when the war began, so the parents said that they'll see them very soon. Do you think that the parents actually did come even when the war began, or after?
Anybody else thinking that as well? Did she see her parents again? Are you all thinking that? Or some of you thinking that? You know, the answer was no. They didn't make it. That was a terrible war, as you know. Terrible things happened, and her parents did not survive. She didn't ever see them again. Before I begin with the word but, I just want to see what you two have to say. Yeah?
Why would they have, was there airplanes at the time? Because if
Yeah.
not, why would they take boats?
That was the way they had to transport the children. That was just how they did it. A huge big boat took them backwards and forwards. I'll show you a picture of it. Yeah?
I have two things. One is, if you remember what the girl looked like when she met the parents, throughout it gets brighter and brighter.
Yeah.
And also when she saw the dog, she didn't feel comfortable.
And now?
But as the dog saw how her expressions were, and as it knew how she was feeling, the dog could sort of not relate, but when she felt sad, the dog also was with her.
Yes, it gave her comfort,
Yeah.
just like the toy dog did. Excellent. And look how we still see the red bow. Who's put this red bow into her hair now? Yes? The new mum and dad. They wanted to be called mummy and daddy. What a kind gesture on their part. They want her to be like a daughter. So they're the ones who put the red ribbon, which has woven its way through the story.
Does she actually put the letter in her pocket, or does she put it in her mind too?
That's the question that you have to think about yourself. Because perhaps she did keep it in her pocket literally then, because she kept taking it out to read it. But it's also about the pocket took other things in it as well, or the pocket up here. What else went into the pocket, if you're thinking of the pocket as a symbol? Yeah.
In her brain, all her knowledge that she learned over the years.
Yeah, and all her memories, all her precious things that she wanted to think about and keep. Yeah. So my big but, I'm just about to say, but tell me quickly what you want to answer.
But also, there's also a grayish wall underneath her. So is she standing in the middle of the rainbow wall? And because there's still
Yes, well I liked what you said about the darkness underneath, which is her past, and what she's escaped from. Yeah?
I have a question. You remember at the start there was the teddy bear? I don't see it now.
No, because
she
what's
was
it
with
being
the
replaced
friends,
with?
the dog and the friends, and she was now sort of
Yes.
settled, and then she felt like how she was with her
Yes.
parents.
You're exactly right. And my big but here, when I told you what really happened to her parents, that they didn't survive the war, but Dorothy herself went on to live in Scotland with the new family. She got married, she had 6 children, and when she was finished having all her babies and bringing them up, she now had time to write her autobiographical picture book. She was much older when she wrote it, so she was remembering what happened. And she went around just like I am today, and I'm not related to her in any way. She went around to schools just like yours, all over Scotland, and read her book to them. And I want to ask you, before you ask me the question, I want to ask you, why do you think Dorothy went around telling the story? What was the point? You know, yeah.
Because it's important to share history.
Yes, one good answer. None of your answers will be wrong. I want more answers though. Yes.
Maybe because she wanted to show off that she was there.
And she
She wanted other
survived.
kids to know how it
That's exactly. Okay, what do you think?
Like if kids were to think it was like that, then they would think like times are like dark and not happy. But she can obviously it was sad back then, but she can relate that as time when
Absolutely
it wasn't
correct.
just sad. There was also some
Yes.
happiness, and it was just a normal
Yes.
life.
Wow, these answers are just amazing. Your class is brilliant. Yes.
Maybe she wanted to make other people like in the world feel how grateful they are.
Absolutely right, of course.
And
Of
also
course.
just to pass knowledge on to their own.
Yes. Yes. Another one. What do you feel?
Is she still alive?
No, she died a few years ago. She was quite old when she died. Yes?
I think like we all forget how this is actually realistic, and I'm sure a lot of people are thinking I wouldn't be able to go for the rest of my life without my parents.
Yes.
But this, as much as our world has changed, we can see in our everyday life that there are still wars happening, and at any moment a World War III could break out, and the same thing could happen to us.
Yeah.
We might also have to be happy.
That's right. She was resilient. So don't forget, this little girl's actually a refugee. I don't know if anybody has ever met refugee children today. Where do our refugees that come to Australia, do you know where they come from? Where Australia allows, from which country are they allowed to come from? Yeah, where do you think?
Hungary.
Hungary. I'm not sure.
A lot of refugees
Came back then. And now,
And also my grandma.
really, from Hungary.
Romania?
Yeah. So those refugee children today come from Afghanistan. Anybody else know where? Yeah.
Like I said before.
Oh yes.
You
Okay.
can also, she also trying to show that no matter what, you can always be happy.
Yeah. And you have resilience. You can thrive, no matter what your circumstances are. But it also shows that people need to be kind and accepting to those people who might be living in extraordinary circumstances. I mean, this was an extraordinary situation that she found herself in, and so do 10,000 others. So people around her were being kind and helpful and generous, then she can move on, which is what we have to do, everybody, because we want to show the video. But let's just have one more question. Yeah.
My grandparents and my uncle so my grandparents were like teenagers during the war, and they were going to school and they weren't allowed to do many things.
Yeah.
They had to go to like special things, and my grandparents both went to a camp.
Yes.
There's from the Nazis, and so they both escaped, but they had to go through labor every day.
Wow.
And then they both became refugees and came to Australia.
Right. So this little girl was a lucky girl. She was 7.5. She was separated from her parents, but she did go on to lead this very happy life. So let's move on now. We're going to look at a contemporary video. I'll talk to you in a minute. A contemporary video, which means a video made now, but it's of the story. Let's look at that now.
Oppenheim was one of thousands of Jewish children who escaped from Nazi-occupied Europe on what became known as the Kindertransport. She was 7.5 when she left Germany. Hundreds of British families agreed to become their foster parents, and over the next 9 months, nearly 10,000 unaccompanied children arrived. Like Dorrit, many would never see their parents again and stayed for the rest of their lives. Dorrit wrote a book about her journey. These are her words. Back at the Hamburg railway station, the train had been waiting. The parents cried. We cried too. On the boat, it was strange sleeping without our parents. A boat full of children escaping from danger. Then it was time to leave the boat. We wore name tags round our necks. I shuffled forward with my eyes closed. At last my feet touched the ground. That's when I started to cry. The train stood ready, taking us to London. Some children had friends or family to meet them. Others looked around for help. There were many with cameras and people holding photographs. Those people had promised to take children into their homes. A man and a woman studied the photograph. The wife touched her husband's arm. Look, the girl with the red ribbon and a big toy dog. That's how they found me. The couple spoke English. All I could say was, I have a handkerchief in my pocket. That's how I began to teach myself. Whenever I learned a new word, I put it in the same sentence. I have a dog in my pocket. I have a house in my pocket. I have a teacher in my pocket. The man and the woman came from Scotland. Everything now was different. In Germany, I couldn't play in our street with the other children because I was Jewish. Now I played with my new Scottish friends, and I had a real dog. Soon I was calling the woman and man Mummy and Daddy. After all, I called my real parents Mutti and Fati. I got a letter from Mutti and Fati. We miss you so much. Remember to be good. We hope to be with you very soon. I hope so too. I put Mutti and Fati's letter in my pocket. I kept it and read it every day, even after the war began.
Yeah, so that was Doris when she wrote the book. I want to show you some photos of her. Now we're going to bring her to life for you, because you now will see the real girl. There she is with her red bow, and as a young woman, and then as an older lady. This is when she was born. The city that she was born in was called Kassel in Germany, and those were her real parents, Mutti and Fati, and their surname was Oppenheim, so Gertrude and Hans Oppenheim. There she is in her classroom before she wasn't allowed to go to school anymore. Yeah. These are two little girls who were on the kinder transport. See how young they were? Parents put them on the trains and boats to get them to safety, and they had numbers. So the name tag had your name and your number and all your details on it. That little girl is Doris' real granddaughter, and she posed for the photo when the book was published. Her name's Isla. These are the identity documents that everybody had to have, with the name and the number. That was her number, her specific number, and then you've seen that one already. That's on the inside of the book. I asked you what was in her suitcase, but this is her real suitcase. It was kept. She's got cutlery. In those days, children got cutlery when they were born for gifts, and it's got her name engraved. Doris is actually engraved on the cutlery, and that's her little ski cap and her dressing gown that came with her. These are pictures of Doris that Eli colorized, made into color because they were all in black and white. They didn't have color there. But we wanted to do it to show you how significant the red bow was. It became her special identity, and she loved wearing her red bow, and that is the real toy dog that she brought with her. It was called Droll. And this one, everyone, I wanted to show you, and the word is juxtaposition, to show you the contrast of photos. This is a girl from the 1930s, a refugee child, sitting on a step, waiting. And that is from today. Which country was at war recently, or still at war, beginning with a U? Ukraine. That's a Ukrainian girl. Things have not changed much in 85 years, have they? Look at that, the similarities. Now, I'm sorry I haven't answered the question. I must get on with this. I'll talk to you in a minute. This is to show you the journey, just so that you get the perspective of where everybody went. So she went from Kassel up to Hamburg, where her parents put her on the train, then across Holland, where they got out and had that picnic. They got onto the boat at the Hook of Holland, which is called Rotterdam. They went across on the boat to Harwich in the eastern part of England. Then they got onto the next train and they went to London and got off there at the Liverpool Street station, which is a big train station there. And that's when the man went down on his knee and spoke in German to greet her and to give her comfort. And they got into a car and they went through Birmingham all the way up to Scotland. And I want to ask you, how long do you think this journey as far as London took? Think about where they are. How long do you think? Yes, how long? 3 weeks? While you're thinking, let me ask you, how long do you think?
10 minutes.
Pardon?
10 minutes.
Thank you. We need to be a little more sensitive.
I'm asking how long the journey took.
Okay.
Yeah?
Like 6 months.
6 months?
Every year, like you said,
Yes?
6 months.
Yes?
Maybe a day, because if they went on a plane, it would take
Yeah, but they didn't. They didn't go by plane. They
They go
couldn't.
by car.
They went on the train and the boat and then the train again.
Maybe 2
Yes?
months.
Okay, and what do you think?
8 months.
Okay, one more.
Wait.
Okay, let me tell you, it only took a...
2.5 months.
No, it took just a few days. You know, Europe is actually not very big. And they had to move them. They were moving them as fast as they could to save as many as they could. They knew the war was looming. There was a few days before she got to London. I think 2 nights maybe at the most, or maybe 3. This is the actual boat that they went on. It was called Vienna, and it went backwards and forwards across the English Channel, saving the children. This is a very famous photo that was taken by those reporters who were waiting for children at the station, and it was put into all the newspapers so that everybody around the world could know about the Kindertransport, could perhaps volunteer and give money towards it. It was a very expensive operation to get so many children and to get people to look after children. Next. This is the Liverpool Street station back in those days. And this next one is what it looks like now. In fact, Eli took this photo. And it's very bright. There's lots of light coming in. Very different to that Hamburg train station, which was quite a shock when you look at that picture. And to show you how beautifully the illustrator, the man who did the drawings, how he captured it, because there it is from the book. Right, now we have King Charles making a very important speech to show you the significance of Kindertransport.
Tomorrow we will once again stand with the people of Germany in solemn remembrance. In Hamburg I will pay my respects at the memorial to the Kindertransport, which 85 years ago saved the lives of more than 10,000 Jewish children from Nazism and gave them safe passage to new lives in Britain.
And here he is the next day, which was just, I think, a few months ago. He actually did go there, and in Hamburg, there are statues all over Europe from where Kindertransport children got onto trains and were saved and taken to England. This is the one at that station in England. You know what this is? The violin case. You know, if the kids could carry their violins, they could bring them with. And so that was portrayed in this particular statue that's at the station. And then the next slide will show you other statues that are around in other parts of Europe and England. Who's he?
Always a bear.
Paddington Bear.
Marmalade sandwiches.
Yes, that's right. So, the man who created Paddington Bear, was actually a little guy.
Listen.
Let me just finish telling you quickly. So when the man who created it, Michael Bond, was a little boy, he saw these children arriving, because that was where he was at the time, and he saw all the Kindertransport children arriving, and it obviously stuck in his mind what he was seeing. So many years later, when he created the bear, which was "Come and rescue me, I need rescuing," he had the label, the suitcase, the duffel coat, the hat, That's where he got the idea, all those years later. This is the model of the car that took Dorothy up to Scotland. It's called an Austin 7, and these are the family, the parents who took her in, the Gallimores, that was their surname. And here she is with 4 of her daughters. The next one is Doris when she got married, and then she and her husband went back to Kassel, which was that city I told you about where she was born. And this is a very significant picture, everybody, because it shows you one girl was saved, and look how many descendants, children, grandchildren, maybe now even great-grandchildren, she were produced from one girl being saved. It was a huge family, they all live in Scotland. So it's quite a thing, what happened. And of course this is 10,000 children were saved. Yes.
Which one of those kids or adults was the one that was holding the book in that?
Good question.
Her grandchild.
We don't know.
No.
I don't know which
Actually,
one.
it's a very good question.
It's a
I
good
haven't looked that closely to
We'll
see
find
which one,
out.
but I'm going to find out. Thank you. I don't know which one's either.
They're all the grandchildren, but the one you're saying is we don't know which one. But
Maybe it's her.
yeah, it looks like it could be
Yeah,
her.
that could be either.
Because that book was written in 1996, and that photo is recent.
More recent.
So she
Dorothy isn't in that photo. She passed
Yes.
away by
Yeah.
then. Okay, now our next step, well, just to remind you how she learned English, by pretending to put the words in her pocket. We are now, everybody, going to get onto the fun part. I don't know if you want to have a little break or whatever you do.
Maybe we'll just count backwards from 10. They can
Okay.
just stand up where you are, have a bit of a stretch, a bit of a run on the spot. 10, 8, 7, 6, you know how I'm ready. 5, 4, 3, 2, 1. Okay, sit back down so we don't run out of time. Alice?
Okay, now comes the
Look at
arts
this.
and
Look at the
crafts.
examples on the board.
Okay, arts and crafts now. First of all, earlier on, I pointed out to you Dorothy's number and a name tag that all the children had. This is one of the activities we're going to do, which is your own version of the name tag. What's very easy to fill in, won't take long. What's written on the back, the secular teachers, are they coming in? What's
Yes,
happening?
at 12 o'clock.
Okay,
In a
this
few minutes.
This is for them, I'll explain that. So don't do anything on the back, your teacher will explain that part to you. Right, everybody.
No, we don't have.
You are all going to get... Come on, I'm waiting. Thank you. Look here. This is the pocket. You caught a glimpse of them on your table.
So this is what you do.
The idea of the pocket is that every single one of you is going to do a painting on your pocket. You can either copy something directly from the little book, because you're all going to get your own little book, the little version of the book to take home. So I want you to look through it, find something that resonates with you, something that you connect with, something that inspired you by the story, and using your artistic skills. I think it's better to do something from the book.
I agree. And then they can trace it or try copy it.
Well,
no,
no.
try not trace it, try copy
They
it.
can do their own version.
Oh, their own version? Okay.
Absolutely your own version. You can do something slightly similar. You can get the idea. If you do need to draw something that's special to you, that's okay, as long as you have something to do with the story in it as well. If you decide to choose the red bow, then you can have the red bow somewhere, or the tulips, or the windmill, or anything to do with the story.
instructions.
Could you please give me your full attention, because this is...
You need to listen, guys. This is the very important part. Okay, and you don't get another one. You've only got one real attempt
Only one
at
pocket,
this.
and only 1
pocket.
hour. So it's fast work. What you have to do is, you have to write in my pocket.
Listen.
You have to write in my pocket on your pockets. Somewhere in bubble writing or any kind of writing. You are going to use a pencil first. When you're happy with what you've done and you've filled up all nice and big and bold, because you're painting, don't forget, you ask us, is my picture all right? And I say yes or no. One of the teachers will look at it. Then you're going to take your black marker. Everyone's got their own black marker. And you're going to outline in black. You can see all these have been outlined. So you have to do that as well. Outline. Okay? You all got that far. In my pocket has to be on all of them. Then you're going to start the painting, which is a really fun part. You're going to put these palettes of paint in front of you. You've got little containers with water. You've got paintbrushes. You should have thin and thick paintbrushes. Got lots of lovely colors to choose from. You get going with painting inside your black, but you must do the black marker outline. You will have, as I said, about an hour to do this. We will say to you after, say, 10 minutes, we'll say you should be finished your outline by now, then another 10 minutes just to keep you on track. Okay. Have fun with this. It's good. It's really fun.
Hold on.
Sit down,
I also want to show you the sponge. Everyone's going to have their own sponge as well. This is for background. I'll just take it out of you. So with your sponge, both sides, either side, you're going to do the background by putting it into some water, squeezing, dipping, and splotching. We'll help you when you get to that stage. Okay? This is the process. So it's pencil, black marker, starting to do the painting, continuing with the painting, some of the sponging to make the yellow effect. Look how beautifully this person has used the sponge to do the background of the train. This is all done in an hour, so it's possible. You can definitely do it. And the teachers hung it up on a string.
Look at the examples, guys.
Okay,
They're
so
quite
here are
amazing.
some examples. We'll leave this up so you can come and have a look if you want to copy something from here or get an idea. Anything you want to do is okay from the stories. This is a group of kids that we did it with in Perth. And here's another group. Everybody did this all in the hour. It was fantastic work. This was Carmel School in Perth, where we come from, year 5. They did a great job. This is actually a school in Cape Town in South Africa. They also did it.
Joey!
And then here are just some groups that we did in Perth, all different classrooms. That's just regular school. So we leave this up for now. I'll come around and show you something.
Not quite